What's up, you guys? JoDobby here, back at it again with another video for y'all. And there's many different videos that I want to do, but for now I want to start a new series and see if it sticks. This is called What Do I Think About This Purple Deck? So welcome to the first episode. Basically what this will comprise of is this is hopefully going to continue as a series of decks that I will look at further into future sets that we see in Japan, because they're much more advanced than us in terms of how far they are with the releases. So while they might be in BT12, we're currently in BT10 EX3 / type of format. So I look up the next set for NA, which is going to be BT11, and I do a little bit of, deck digging, and I look for topping lists or good lists that I think are pretty good, but are also off the beaten path, so I can help explain them to you a little bit better. And hopefully this will also show you guys my thought process in terms of deck assessment, card evaluation, and ultimately whether this is a deck that might be for me or not as far as playstyle is concerned. So diving right into this is a deck from Evil in Japan. Shout out to Evil. I don't know who you are, but congrats on first place at Madden High. And this is a Beelstar Mervaloop as the deck name is concerned. So we're just going to dive into some of the choices here. As you can see, the 4 copies of Mervamon here. So it looks like it's got a pretty heavy Retaliation suite, and that is exactly what you want with Mervamon. So, draw 1, trash 1 on deletion is always very good. You've also got Tsunamon, so if you've got a Floodgate like a Psychmon or a Gazimon out, that can sit there with the Tsunamon stack, and then all the other Digimon that die and draw 1, trash 1 next to it will result in the Tsunamon draw, which is really cool. Next, we're looking at 2 copies of Gazimon. That's a good amount of copies now that we're kind of shying away from too much on-board memory gain. Usually we get it from the Tamers now with like the Cool Boys and all that access. So 2 copies of Gazimon doesn't hurt, especially against like Bloomlord. We've got 3 copies of the Draw 1, Trash 1 Gabumon. I have not used this Gabumon in a while, and Japan tends to like this card a lot. And honestly, I like it a lot too. I actually like it a lot more than the Draw 2, Trash 1. And the reason is you get to potentially keep the cards in your hand, draw into something you don't want, and then trash that instead. Or you could potentially draw as you're attacking into something you need and then trash something you don't, which means you're able to potentially resolve numerous effects after the fact, which is really nice. So Gabumon, kind of like the other Gabu that's draw 2, trash 1, it's on deletion, which means like whether you survive or not, well, actually you shouldn't be able to survive, which means the Digimon that could have had extra effects is basically gone from that. While this Gabu, you kind of cycle and get what you need and potentially survive, and then that Digimon can kind of benefit from what you potentially drew. 2 copies of Devimon with Retaliation. I really love this because Mervamon grants Rush to Digimon with Retaliation, which is really nice. It can't attack into opponent's Digimon unless you have a Meotismon, but this isn't really what it's here for. It's here for a few things, blocker and the retail. 2 copies of Psychmon, so obviously just the counter Death X, and players can't reduce play cost, which is really nice. 4 copies of the new Ignitemon. So this Digivolves for 0 from a level 2 with Crossheart. You don't really bother with that. When attacking, delete one of your other Digimon, and then delete one of your opponent's unsuspended Digimon with a level less than or equal to. So this is a really good effect because you can pop like your scatter mode, for example, which is kind of funny. And then delete one of your opponent's unsuspended level 4s. And then get all the draw and trash effects, which is really nice. I really like Ignitemon. I think he's a really cool Digimon design as well. And all turns, when you play a Digimon by an effect, you gain 1 memory, which is really, really good into the Mervamon Digicross. Next, we've got 1 copy of the Ginkakumon Promote just for a swing for game because you're running Nail Bones in this. And then you've got 4 copies of the Eismon Scatter Mode just for the draw trash. You want to facilitate the seeing of your deck and the trashing of the right things. 1 copy of Loimon, another mode to swing for game, which is kind of underrated right now in purple. Besides the people that are still playing, like Cherubimon. Shout out to you guys for holding down the fort on that end. 3 copies of Soulmon, and I really like this because Soulmon is Retaliation, and it gives all of my Digimon with Retaliation plus 2k DP. And I think that is very, very strong, because when you're bringing out Digimon with Retaliation, and Mervamon is here to actually gain Rush and Blocker, you're giving potentially a Dark Rizamon 6k. It becomes a blocker with Mervamon out. Soulmon itself will be a Retaliation 6k blocker. Devimon will be a 4k blocker, which is super good. And that's just a really good way to kind of defend yourself as you're kind of applying pressure, which is really nice. Next, you've got the 3 copies of Dark Rizamon. I really love this guy. He's a cool Digimon design as well. And Retaliation, obviously, and on deletion, draw 1, trash 1. So now you bring out this Dark Rizamon who's a blocker, and then you basically draw 1, trash 1 when you delete through blocking, and your opponent basically loses their stack unless they've got some sort of protection from Retaliation, which is nice. We've got 3 copies of Beelstarmon here, which is kind of cool. You do run quite a bit of removal, which is why the Beelstar is really nice. Also, you're maxing out on Nail Bones to continuously, you know, like spread out and bring out a lot of Retaliation Digimon. So the beauty about this is, depending on the situation, like if you are playing against a deck that might have Death X, which is a really pretty decent counter to your deck, you can Beelstarmon Nailbone out any of these level 4s with Retaliation, and then with a Mervamon out, you pretty much have these strong blockers. And the Nailbone brings out a level 3 as well, so you can choose between Psychmon and Gazimon, depending on how you read your opponent's next move. Do you think they have the Death X or not? Do you even think they play the Death X or not? And then you can decide to play out Psychmon, which will block the Death X, or you can even bring out the Devimon, which will then add another blocker, which with the Soulmon will actually be a 4k blocker with Retaliation. So the double Retaliation Nailbone play is, in my opinion, really, really good. And that's a really good way to add Beelstar into this list. Next, we've got 4 copies of the Mervamon. So the Mervamon is kind of like the star of the show here. And this basically reads, when you would play this card, you may also place cards from your trash in its Digivolution cards for Digicross. So basically the Ignitemon, once it's in your trash, you are literally good to go. Just 1 Ignitemon is all you need, and you can Mervamon for 8. And then when you Digicross, you have this on-play effect, which allows you to play 1 purple level 4 or lower Digimon card, or 1 level 4 or lower Digimon card with Crossheart without paying its memory costs. If Digicrossing, add 1 to the number of cards that you can play with this effect. And when you Digicross that with the Ignitemon, when you play a Digimon by an effect, gain 1 memory. So now, you're going to Digicross Mervamon for cost reduction of 3, so it'll be an 8 cost. And then if you have the ability to actually play 2 Digimon, which you will because you did Digicross, you gain 2 memory back. So now Mervamon becomes only a 6 cost, which is a very, very good play. Because if you've got a mat, you can basically slam down Mervamon, pass your opponent to 3, and have 2 Digimon with Blocker and Retal. And there's a very good reason why they play Mimi Tachikawa as well here. Because if you're able to remove your opponent's only stack through Retaliation next turn, if they don't have a rookie in their hands, they're going to be forced to pass with you potentially starting at 5 with Matt, and then all of a sudden you can Mervamon putting them to 1 memory, which is really, really good. So as you can see, there are no level 5s in this deck because the strategy is very simple and very well understood. What you're doing is you are champion and rookie rushing to a certain degree, and then dropping Mervamon once you've set up your tools and your pieces. You want your Digimon to effectively die so you can draw 1 and trash 1 and add the right cards in trash to facilitate your Nailbone plays, which is really, really good. But moving on from that, all turns, all your opponent's Digimon with Retaliation gain Rush and Blocker once again, which is really, really fire. I'm loving this deck. 1 copy of Death X. You'll see this copy because you're going to effectively be able to cycle through your deck very, very quickly. My only thing is I would probably find a way to play Dobermon. It's not as needed because you're able to draw and trash whatever you need. However, I haven't been too much of a fan of scatter mode, I'll be honest. However, with the Gabu and scatter, I can see that because that's effectively going to be a draw 4, trash 3, which is really nice. Next, the 1 copy of Matt. I think the reason why he doesn't even run Doberman is because you only need really just the Matt to return a purple Digimon or option card just once and throughout the course of the game, and I think you'll be fine, which is nice. 2 copies of Sora and Mimi. We kind of went over this already. Facilitates the draw trash whenever a purple Digimon attacks, and when your opponent has no level 4 or lower Digimon, gain 2 memory. And you're gonna see that quite often if you're able to remove your opponent's only stack, because they're probably not gonna be dropping a rookie and be susceptible to deletion, and if they do, then you just find a way to delete it, which is nice. 3 copies of Trump Sword, which is cool. I love Trump Sword, I love Piedmon, so if any excuse for me to get Trump Sword into the game, then I'll run it. 2 copies of the purple memory boost, which is kind of nice. He's not running missed memory boost here, it seems, and it's very simple. Missed memory boost is super RNG trash, so like if you trash the right things, great, but you could trash pieces that you need, and this deck seems piece heavy in a sense that you really want to orchestrate what goes into trash specifically, so you don't want any random good cards going into trash before their time. So the violet memory boost or purple memory boost is actually very helpful because it's a search 1, bottom deck the 3, and you can basically cycle back later in the game. 4 copies of the Nailbone here, as I mentioned why earlier. Being able to play out either Floodgate and a Digimon with Retaliation, or being able to play out 2 Digimon with Retaliation, especially with a Mervamon out in the field, is very, very good. Because then they'll either have Rush or Blocker or what have you, which is super nice. And 4 copies of Fly Bullet just for that level 6 removal. War Greymon X Antibody will have protection. A lot of Digimon will actually potentially have protection against deletion. And War Greymon X Antibody with the presence of the new Tamer will prevent options from triggering. However, when they don't see the Tamer, Trump Sword and Fly Bullet will hurt them. And when they do see the Tamer, Mervamon having Digimon that come out as Retaliation blocker will hurt them as well. So that is pretty much the deck. I personally think this is a really good deck. I think it's quite powerful and very interesting to me. What I would change here right off the bat is I would find a way to play Skull Greymon. I would find a way to play 1 copy of Skull Greymon, and the reasoning is quite simple. 1 or 2 copies, because Skull Greymon can be trashed from hand and actually placed underneath a Digimon with its Digivolution sources. So if you can actually find a way to do that, you can place Skull Greymon underneath the Mervamon, and now your Mervamon has Retaliation and Blocker, which is really, really nice. And if for whatever reason your Mervamon happens to be able to be played for free, which is kind of cool, you can effectively, well, not for free, but like if you're able to play Mervamon and have the memory to keep turn, if you can find some way to draw trash and play Skull Greymon underneath the Mervamon, then you pretty much have Rush Blocker, and then it's up to you to decide whether you want to attack or not, which is really cool. So other than that, double Retaliation actually works. So if you were to put Skull Greymon underneath Dark Rizamon, for example, and you've got a full stack Black War Greymon X Antibody that has the double X Anti, and they have to trash like 2 sources to prevent deletion, they'll trash 2 for Dark Rizamon's Retaliation effect, and then they have to trash 2 more for the Skull Greymon's Inheritable of Retaliation. And if they don't see that, then you're pretty much killing them for 1 Digimon, which is very, very good. Especially since a lot of decks just go up 1 stack right now. You're looking at like Metal Garurumon, you're looking at Black War Greymon X Antibody, you're looking at all these decks that could quite easily get punished very well with Retaliation. So I think Retaliation is going to make a really good comeback, and there's just a lot of ways to become ingenious with how to play it. I'm personally going to take this list and try to fix it or adjust it for the best of 3 US meta or North American meta. because this is obviously a best of 1 format deck being in Japan. So this is going to require a little bit of tweaking to fit best of 3 if it doesn't actually test super well in that scenario. But personally, I am very happy with this deck, and thank you, Ival, for actually posting this, because it's giving me a lot of ideas for BT11, especially with Nats coming along. It would be nice to catch people by surprise. Anyways, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this series, let me know so I can continue it. I will probably continue because this is a fun exercise for me as a player to become a better one as well. So let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this, and till next time, peace.